Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I am the Director of Education at SICSA, and today we're joined by some of the SICSA education champions representing computing departments across Scotland. Now today's webinar question was posed by the SICSA education mailing list, and the question is this: how do we engage students when we're teaching online? As we all know, we're now heading towards a semester where online teaching is by and far the largest thing we've done. A lot of us are teaching either exclusively online or in a blended manner. And the concern is, how do we keep our students engaged when we can't physically see them? So this is a question I'm posing to the champions. On you go. Someone needs to speak first.
Yeah, okay. I'll plunge in. So, don't really know, actually, to be honest, because we've not done this before. So we're trying to have more materials that require interaction. So we've got online discussions and we're using a variety of other tools like Padlet and Flipgrid. So that allows students to interact with discussions. But honestly, come back to me in about 3 weeks' time and I'll tell you whether the students have done that, whether they find that engaging or not. I think it's really hard to say. We're also using more videos in our materials, so not just having written materials available, but trying to maintain that sense of the personal by having headshots and talking to camera.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. Students seeing the people they're engaging with as opposed to engaging with a blank screen. Who here has experience of teaching online?
I've done a little bit.
Okay.
More for kind of international students that are, I guess, more self-directed. So not the same, you know, not trying to kind of replicate the on-campus experience, as it were. So I think it's different. The expectations, I think, from the students are different this time round. And I suspect they're all waiting to see what we'll do and what it will be like. You know, they're not signing up for an online course. So definitely they're expecting different things.
And I think that's a really good distinction to make. If you're signing up for an online course, you do expect to be faced with videos and webinars and things. But these students are largely signing up for a full-time face-to-face course, which is being delivered online. And that's a very important distinction to make. I think last time when we had a webinar, we spoke about the importance of tailoring the experience to this particular situation. And I think that's what we're trying to draw out here today. Tiffany, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was saying that I've been involved with the graduate apprenticeship programs that RG has been running since 2017. And as Debbie was saying, is that there's a distinction between those that sign up for an online delivery and those that don't. So the graduate apprenticeship programs are primarily delivered online, but we do try and kind of integrate some kind of on-campus face-to-face interaction as well. So I think that from RGU's perspective, we are kind of using that as a model of how we're going to then be delivering through the next semester coming. So hopefully that will be a little bit more smooth sailing than other schools and other universities, but time will tell.
We also have graduate apprenticeships, but I don't think we do them quite as online as you do at RGU. We have more on campus time, so we don't have quite as much of that experience, although it's somewhere in between that and the conventional courses. We also have some experience with online delivery for transnational education with partner college abroad. And again, not completely online because there's local facilitators in that situation, but a lot of the teaching material that we design for that is more interactive. The online content is more interactive than you would normally expect, and we hope to be able to use some of that experience and some of that material.
At the University of Glasgow, we also consider a sense of community, because with the face-to-face teaching, there is that sense of community which students value quite a lot. So with the delivery, for instance, of labs online, so we are a working group. We are currently working on how we can try to build that sense of community, because sometimes we won't be able to see the student, maybe because of internet connection. The lab group, we've managed to reduce the lab group considerably. And also, because we will be using Teams, particularly, it enables us to have those private channels. So we have a lab. Inside the lab, you have private channels formed by a certain group of students, maybe 6 to 7 students, which those students will have a demonstrator, and then the tutor walk around, and we tend to encourage those small group of students to talk to each other, and they will come together as the whole group of lab as well, with the lecturer, the course coordinator, and the tutor as well. So we are trying to build that sense of community by making those small groups inside the whole lab group. And also we are using Team because, again, it's kind of difficult. It's going to be the first time this happened to us, and in a large scale. There is a software you can use there to share the code. So which means that the demonstrator for a small group, they can share, students can share their code. They can actually type the code with others. So it's something that we are trying to build. We will come back in maybe 3 weeks' time to see what is working and what is not working. Right now, it's going to be touch and go.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of small groups working together. Pedagogically, that's a really nice thing to do anyway. The smaller the group, the better the community that forms around it. And certainly community is going to be a very important thing for students this time around, I think.
Yeah, I think that the point that Karen made is really important, that we don't really know how to do this. And I think that a really important thing to do is keep really good communication with students throughout about what's working and what's not working. So I'm planning to run a sort of little mini course which is based on group work with the students, and a lot of that will be talking to them and getting them to think about what's actually working for them and what's not working, and trying to be a bit flexible around their feedback. Obviously, it's difficult to be completely flexible, but trying to incorporate their experiences into what we're doing, and also to communicate with them clearly. If they're saying, well, we don't like this isn't working, then either we can say, okay, well, we'll try and change that, or we'll say, well, actually, we really don't have much ability to change that, and that is why we're doing it this way, so that they're at least understanding the context a little bit better. So I think that the collaboration with students will be a really big part of how we make this successful.
That's true. We are conveying that message to our students as well, and we're going to be doing this. So please bear with us. It might not work in few minutes. After a few weeks, we might see some changes. Just to be able to accommodate you guys, please try to understand us. We are also trying to yes, that's the same message we are trying to convey to all stakeholders with this.
I shared a really nice slide on Twitter about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which showed, instructions that people are giving to students day one of teaching online. And it's this sense that students really need to take ownership of the fact that they need to be stakeholders of their own learning experience. Tell us when something doesn't work, help us develop something to help you. Because I think what Fiona and Karen both said there is really important. We're new to this. We have all the research and we have all the experience, and we can do this in a really good, positive way. But students need to tell us when something doesn't work so we can react appropriately to that.
Yeah, and I think it's also, as you say, there is a lot of research about online learning, but as I can't remember who already points out that, maybe it was you, this is a really different situation where we've got lots and lots of students who don't want to do online learning, who really want the standard student experience, and who are not going to respond in the same way as people who are seeking out online learning. So yeah, I mean, I think in a way nobody really knows. It's not just us.
Which makes it so exciting, I guess. Out of curiosity, oh, sorry, on you go.
I was going to say, I think as well regarding the building a community for students, is that something that we're trying to do is to encourage students to have the social aspect that they would still have if they were on campus and have this sort of face-to-face interaction. So there's obviously small group activities that we can kind of facilitate and control within the resources that we give them, and whether that's through the virtual learning environment teams or what other activities you're doing, but also then encouraging them to go out and form their own communication channels as well that are external to the university, because I think the importance of them being able to feel completely at ease and free to speak about any challenges and struggles, and I guess that feeds into the whole feedback process as well, is that if they can discuss that openly and then kind of come back to us to give us their views on it, I think that's quite useful as well.
And we know that for our students, it's going to be, or for most students, it's going to be the first time they face that type of learning as well. So we are trying to provide more support as well. So if those small groups labs are not working, for instance, we have decided to have an extra group that's just for support. Then we have a building that could be available, that is available for us. So we've decided that for those who are struggling, we could arrange a weekly or a fortnightly group where those who are struggling can actually go, of course, respecting social distancing measures, come to and attend the physical face-to-face support they could get in a lab environment, and also an online version as well. So we are trying everything just to keep them engaged, to tell them that, okay, guys, if you are struggling, we're still there. We will be able to support you. We know that learning online, it needs quite a lot of motivation.
And I think we need to bear in mind that the students are potentially more vulnerable than usual. They've
Yes.
had very interrupted education. They haven't taken their exams. We know that mental health has got worse across the board due to COVID, but young people are a demographic who've been particularly affected, and they're in a stressful situation. They're coming into something completely unexpected, so they will be, a lot of them will find it really challenging.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea to have extra additional support. I mean, we quite often do that for programming in general in normal times, but to have something in place for people that are struggling with the online experience and with the subject matter, I think is something that we'll be looking at too.
I think one of the things that I'm a bit concerned about is boundaries. I think I completely agree about the need to support people more through this time. I think because we're online, then that's going to blur the boundaries between when you're at university and when you're not at university, because basically you're at university all the time, and for us that means we're at work all the time. So I'm also thinking about the staff's well-being, that, you know, we need to try and encourage staff not to feel that they have to be available 24/7. So how we get that balance between support and feeling that you can come and contact us for help, but not at any time. And also to encourage in the students themselves that kind of well-being that they get from not being glued to their computer 24/7. So I think one of the things that we're going to try and do is to encourage our students to form those peer support groups. We're hoping to do that across the years, but I don't know if that'll really work. So that they've got their own support community as well, that they can ask other students for help, and to try and encourage them to do more of that, because that's good for those who are asking for help, but it's also great for those who supply that help. You know, because I think we all know as lecturers that one way to really learn a thing is to explain it to somebody else, and that lets you see the sort of subtleties of a topic more perhaps than you did before. So it is win-win for everybody, I think.
This is something we've also considered. This is a question that was asked in the working group. So what we've decided is we will advise students strongly to always post their questions before the lab or the lecture, so that any other student could answer them. And we will let them know that the tutors, demonstrator, and even lecturer, they can only work for a certain amount of time. And so if their peers can answer, that's okay. Then the tutors will answer the question during their expecting the tutor and demonstrator to work 24 hours. This is something that we've also said we will let students know in advance. So they shouldn't be surprised if they ask a question at midnight or at 5 p.m. and they expect the answer by 8 p.m. No, they will probably expect the answer just unless it's their own peers who answer the question beforehand. They will expect the answer during normal working time of the staff dealing with this.
Yeah, we try and keep the timing as normal as possible. Our student timetables will look much like they do in normal times. How we actually use those synchronous sessions is another matter, but from the point of view of having a structure to the week, that will be as normal as possible.
I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier about setting expectation for the students. You know, I think it's fine, and I think it is something we should be doing. That at the start we say, look, this is my working hours, this is my office hours. If you send a message at 9 p.m., do not expect a response until the following day. I have found it much healthier for myself to uninstall Teams from my phone. So it's only, you know, on my work machine, and it's only, I go to work by opening my laptop. So that's when I then start engaging. And everyone will have different things that they use for that. But I do like the idea that if we're on Teams or using Slack, then students can answer each other's requests in the meantime. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about communities of practice. This is how they form a community of practice, because they can see what's going on. I can see that someone else is struggling with a missing semicolon, and hey, I had that problem 3 weeks ago, so I'll jump in and help. And hopefully we'll start seeing these new sorts of mechanisms start to come up. As a final question, this is out of curiosity more than anything, how many of you are pre-recording material as opposed to delivering stuff live?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing at least some
combination.
I think some people are. I don't think I will be doing that myself.
So show of hands, who's pre-recording and okay.
Yeah.
So
We're pre-recording most.
Pre-recording most.
My material is pre-prepared most.
Okay. I've pre-prepared. I'm still not sure whether I should pre-record or whether I should deliver live. I'm thinking delivering live helps me be more agile, but then it's more work down the semester. Well,
that's different because the course I was teaching, I use a modified version of team-based learning, which is why I had prepared material. And in order to ensure that they actually read the material, there was a quiz at the end of each slide, or at least a set of slides for the lesson for that week. So they had to take the quiz, and they couldn't answer those questions without having gone through the material, which means that the 1 hour lecture that we had, we were using it a little bit more for team-based exercise, or they call it team application exercise, where they actually did some pattern puzzles, hand coding, all this debugging and all this. But now I don't know how I'm gonna do it because I'm teaching the second semester this course. So I don't really know how I'm gonna go with the 1 hour lecture we have. So my material is still valid because it still has, they have to read it and take the quiz to ensure they have actually read it. And the 1 hour live, I will see what I'm gonna do with it. Yeah. And the point is, because I'm teaching a bootcamp style course with at least we have the bootcamp style course, it's 6 weeks and has 6 different topics. And then it has 3 assess exercise, 1 coursework, 1 teamwork. So it's quite intense. So it's not like I could use 1 hour to actually teach a topic because there are too many topics. So I will try and find how I could actually use that 1 hour for a live session. And again, I will consider those small groups because I've always liked them working in groups. Yeah.
And I think what you're saying there, that you don't know what it's going to be like, but you need to be reactive and agile, is exactly what the message that's coming out of this webinar is, I think.
I'm observing those who are now in semester 1. We are going around, we are trying to work out how they teach online and everything, and then I will be watching them and then deciding what I'm going to apply myself.
So watch this space, I guess. And good luck to everyone running semester 1. But listen, thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully our viewers will get something out of this. I know I have, certainly. So yeah, thank you for joining us and see you later.